And that means that we're going live. 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. All righty, you guys have the rest of the 59 minutes. And Greg, you appeared before me initially first. Greg could tell you, James, that I reached over to him and said, "Can you come on the Monday before Thanksgiving?" He said, "Yes, I will." There were a few other people that I was hoping to have in, but I appreciate a man's perspective on what I consider to be part of the world that I am enthusiastic about, that I feel that I have learned so much from. Even though I was a classroom educator, I have learned so much from people who are at my age or a good 35 years beyond my age, everything in between. Being rather new to Texas, I get to drive, thanks to Friends for Life, Waco, I get to drive two people and be the Uber chauffeur, and they get to point out sites and tell me what it was like 75 years ago when they were kids in town in Waco. So I get to hear all that used to be a such and such store, you know, and that was the teenage hangout. My favorite thing to say was quoting one of my people was, "I got in trouble there, but not as much trouble as my girlfriend did." You know, and so I get to hear these stories. Some of the people stop and they just go, before you know, we part, before I go back into where I live, can I just pray for you and your family? And so it's in between, you know, gossip and God that happens around me all the time. I am very grateful that Greg, your wife, is so enthusiastic about leadership, because she's the one who said to me, since the founder and director of Friends for Life was not only nominated for Central Texas, but nominated by Nexstar Media, based in Hollywood, for the entire state of Texas this year, 2025, to be the remarkable woman. Now, 36 years from the founding to at this moment announcing groundbreaking for next year for a residence that's going to meet the independent living needs of people that are served. My job is to take someone who does not, or at this time is not, driving themselves, and stick with them through whatever errands or appointments might occur. And beyond that, I get to do things like make people be in a parade. And that was where your wife got so enthusiastic and said, "We can't do a ticker tape parade for Inez Russell, but there is a parade." And I needed to know that. I'm still so new. We've really only been here barely over a year. And so I still am friends with people that showed up on I would say, the earliest, darkest morning of the year, because the next day we had fallback on our clocks. But that morning, it was dark and early, and the only excited people were the Baylor students themselves, showing up in costumes, ready to hop onto floats. And it was just a joy. What a wonderful opportunity to see the entire community as I walked along as one of the people who carried the 20-foot banner. And people were so squished in, especially on the Baylor University campus, that we had to bend it. It was made to fold up. We had to bend it to get between the people who were just calling out. They were calling out to the Storm Band from Fox 44 and very, very interested in the 1960 convertible that one of their anchormen, Vince Erickson and Inez Russell, were riding together. And Inez doesn't want to do things like that. She wants to be busy, making sure she's doing what she's done for 36 years. But she agreed to do so. And I'm really glad, because people from the community were shouting out to her by name. So I don't know what that is.
It's not me.
Yeah, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I don't know what that sound was. It's still there. Oh my goodness. So I am going to acknowledge for a moment my hubby producer, Scott. If he can locate it, he is welcome to hop onto the screen and say, hey, I figured out what that is about, what that sound is about. But Greg, you've listened to a ridiculously long introduction where I got to talk about some ways in which you and I have started to know each other through your wife. I also have met you at Mobilize Waco, at the Waco Networking Group, certainly 1,000 Friends of Waco. And you said yes when we were at Tia Juanita's fish camp. So lots of signage for a lot of people I wasn't planning on doing. But Greg, you speak my language because it's one you love. And so people really like to, let me say that differently. There are people who love people who are concerned about them, but they cannot be there. They cannot be 7 different people at all times, night and day, for their loved one. And so I think that you provide so that people who are loving people can feel a sense of it's going to be okay if I'm not the one there. Someone else will inform me if I need to know something. So Greg, please go right ahead. Tell us about yourself and how you ended up with this.
Well, thanks, Christine. We've met several times, and my story is a little bit different. I think everybody kind of wanders in to home care in a different from a different source. I listened to a podcast where they say the podcast is about called Home Care U. It's like as nobody went to school to learn how to run home care. So anyway, for me, my wife and I met here in Waco at Baylor. Both felt called to ministry. I was a marketing major. Then we both went to seminary together. And so I've been a pastor for 30 years, leading church staff teams, helping churches grow. I still have a leadership development company and help pastors continue to lead well. But along the way, we went through some different transitions. My kids moved to the Dallas area, and we wanted to move back to Waco. And so I landed on home care as a way to continue to minister to people and provide a meaningful service, and hopefully do it in a way that would honor God with our time and honor God by serving our clients and their families well.
You said wander. People wander in. Did you mean in the leadership role or in the clients that wander in kind of a glazed look at times on perfectly intelligent, trained people who have maybe raised children, maybe led corporations, and it's kind of like, I think we need you now. I've not done this before. I've not been a kid of an aging parent before. Go ahead.
Well, the home care business side, it's just a lot of people come from a lot of different backgrounds to help provide home care. Some's a personal story. Our founder, his grandparents were involved in, anyway, they had caregivers who were neglectful that actually led to one of their early deaths. So anyway, that's how we started the company called One You Love. But anyway, I always say that everybody comes into home care a little bit different route. So for us, yeah, it's a chance to be a blessing to people. We're glad to be here in Waco and already making an impact. It's been a blessing to serve families. I was with a client's family this morning as we introduced a caregiver to them. So anyway, glad to be here and glad to just support what you're doing.
When I come back round to you, help me to remember that I wanted to speak or ask you to respond to holidays and caregiving, because you just met with a new client, and this week is kind of shutdown week in the US. I noticed that there aren't any ribbon cuttings, that there aren't any grand speeches being made as much, or I'm not seeing it through the Chamber of Commerce. It just seems to be the week that everyone's just kind of like, we're settling in, we're starting to travel, folks are coming in, we've got to, spruce up the guest room or all that. But just talking about, holiday times, gatherings, families, dynamics, expectations, the change in the dynamics, etc. But James, you are the only entity in the Waco area that reached out to me and said, could we be on aspects of aging? And you attributed that to Sarah, who is, am I correct in saying marketing?
Yeah, she's our office. She's one of our office coordinators and marketing representatives for the office.
Yes, and you have more than one office,
we
or
do.
More than one location. Are there 2 locations or more?
There are 2 locations. Our primary and original location is in Waco, and then we have an additional office location in Georgetown, Texas, that's fully staffed with attorneys and assistants there as well.
Okay, it's silly question time now on aspects of aging. Which one's the longer commute for you, Georgetown or Waco?
Well, Georgetown. It's an hour drive to Georgetown. It's a 12-minute drive from my house to my Waco office.
Ah, there we go. And it's a 12-minute drive for me to your office as well. I popped in and I met someone. It might have been Sarah. Just wanted to thank her. And then we've been talking about some other things having to do with me. Maybe boots on the ground is the right way to say it. Being back with Friends for Life. I do what I do purely as a volunteer, but it reminds me of the days when I showed up to be everything from companionship to physically making sure that the person was safe, to just writing lots of info to report to both the family and the next incoming hired caregiver, etc. So I really appreciate I had a wonderful 45-minute conversation with your Sarah on, she had a lot of questions about the show and also some of the other things that we're working on having to do with Friends for Life. And I just enjoyed it. I'm like, type her a little note. That was so great. She goes, oh yeah, that was good. So I like her. You can keep her.
Thank you. We are very, very blessed to have Sarah, and we have a great staff. So we're I'll knock on wood, because we have an outstanding staff right now. It's sometimes difficult with staff. Ray could probably talk about that too. But sometimes you're struggling with good people, and sometimes you're lucky enough to have really good people. And we're in that very good phase right now with a lot of outstanding talent.
Yeah, Greg could speak on that. The leadership, when you have a group and they are just, everything's just the right amount. They understand whatever. They finish each other's sentences, or they have that heart that you need. They've got the execution. They've got the detail. You've got the execution person, the detail person, the championing person, the what else can I do? Come on, keep me busy, or could we do this better if I did it this way? Yes. And I trust you, and run with it.
That's right.
Oh, that's so great. That is so wonderful. James, just in general, I know there's another Rainey because there's 2 Rainies on your sign.
Mhm.
And so just anything about how you came into this or your path to this point?
Yeah, so my wife and I are Rainey and Rainey, and we've been practicing law 30 years. The first 10 years for both of us was mainly litigation work, civil litigation, injury litigation, divorce. And then somewhere in there, towards the end of the first 10 years, Elisa was at a big firm, and they asked her to start working more with families and elder law issues. And then as she started doing that more and more, she really felt her calling to do that. And the firm was like, well, we want you litigating. So she ended up leaving and coming and joining me. And we ended up forming a niche elder law firm here in the Waco, Central Texas area. And since then, we've just taken off, and we've been very blessed to serve the Waco, Temple, Georgetown area.
And I just love it. That is one thing I have said through the years. I started as a caregiver, which I didn't even know what one was. Quick story. Neighbor arrives home. I say, hi, neighbor, how's your day? She says, I'm shorthanded. I said, oh, great. I'm short cashed. Maybe I can come work for you. Ha, ha, ha. She said, come in Monday. I'll hire you. I don't even know what you do. And she goes, well, I'm in leadership over caregivers. I said, oh, like people who work at the nursing home. No, this is different. They go into, my people go to where the person lives and make sure that they can continue living there. And I still was just so lost. I learned so much so fast, loved it. And that's just been my passion. And that was 12 years ago that happened. So passion, meaning I just can't stop talking about it. I felt that I had the privilege of being around families who allowed me to come in at some of the most distressing times and allowed me to be part of it and allowed me to see everybody not at their best, and also taking me aside and confiding in me and showing me how they navigated something really well and what they did for some other, describing what they did for some other loved one who at the present time had now passed, but what they used to do, how they were speaking with their own tribe, saying, when it's my turn, when I get to this point, if I have these needs, let's already be talking about it. And that's why I invite people onto my screen to normalize something that seems so awkward to, let's not talk about getting older, because getting older means problems. And today's such a happy day. And it's like, and yes, and when the problems are right here, it's very difficult to set all of that aside and make rational decisions. So that's why I just invite people onto my screen to talk about something that people don't want to talk about, but boy, do they want to talk about it when it's in the mix, when there's a diagnosis, when there's disagreement amongst adults. Again, rational, capable. We've done things before. Why is this one so hard? And even people pointing at me who have practiced, when it's my family, when I know that I'm known by these people since I was a child, it's just different. And we need a Greg and we need a James, a Lisa, who sees it from the outside and says, I have found what it is, what what identifying a problem, not identifying who's the problem here, identifying a problem, listing options, and giving someone that chance to go, oh, that's right, I am a rational human being. I remember that now, but it didn't feel like it in the moment. Have told people for years, elder law attorneys, you just need an elder law attorney. You need to go and talk with them and get the opportunity to feel like, okay, I've heard that term before. I
Christine,
feel like I'm getting to
Christine,
it now.
what are some things, Christine, what are some things I would call a elder law attorney for? I mean, what topics? I mean, I'm just going to walk in there. What kind of things should I be thinking about, Christine? What should I
You're
go talk to them
asking
about?
me when we've got James on the screen?
Right, exactly. Well, I'm just asking, you were talking about, so what kind of things should I go talk to James about?
Okay, here's the big word. Well, there's a lot of D's, but one of them is dementia. So there's diseases. There's
But I thought he was a lawyer.
Death
What am I going to
impending.
talk to him? Why would I talk to him?
I mean, he's a lawyer. He's
You
supposed
got to help
to
me, Christine.
look
Why would I
like
talk
lawyers
to-
on TV.
Aren't I supposed to talk to my doctor about that? I mean, why
Yeah,
would I talk to
to
James about dementia? You have to help me out, Christine.
Okay, Greg, I'm going to help you out because obviously you're a rational human being and you do care about your loved one. So
We're
a
learning
doctor
together.
brings you this far. A doctor brings you this far. We have a disease. We have a diagnosis. We have death or impending death. I'm saying words to you like hospice, and you're like, yes, I know the definition, but I do not know hospice. I don't know about, etc. And then you have someone like James who knows what those words mean and how you can approach what you need to approach first, second, third. And then dementia, I think, is the big one because that is the same person, the same body. But there is a whole new factor being put in. And it's like, when do I pat them on the hand and say, you're not supposed to read your mail anymore. You're not supposed to make these decisions anymore. And when would I get in trouble that I would actually be somehow abusive to this person? I mean, when does the switch, etc.? He has had these conversations with people, and I kind of know about it because when I was visiting in his office, a human being was also in the office and was talking with someone that through one of those windows that you pull open, whatever, countertop. And I thought, okay, I know this. I know what's going on here. I know that stage. And it was, to me, it was like, oh yeah, that's when they call in a caregiver to give respite to family. That's when, and I thought, yes, I have the delight of being a companion to this person or entering their world. But what about me? I'm the one who has to make decisions now. James Rainey, help me. What kind of decisions can I make? And when am I doing it wrong? Or when am I going to get in trouble? I'm a rule follower. Oh my goodness.
Help us out, James. What should we know about dementia from a legal standpoint? What would we be talking about?
Well, I think I think that is something that an elder law attorney does bring to the table versus a different kind of maybe estate planning attorney. I mean, I think our job is to kind of blend healthcare, legal issues, financial issues together for the family. So when you see an elder law attorney, we are doing more than just talking about your will, where we're talking about dementia, we're talking about caregivers, we're talking about finances and assets and investments, annuities, life insurance. We're talking about how are you going to pay for nursing home care, how you're going to pay for the home health care. At what point do you need to make a transition to hire someone like Greg? I mean, well, you know, a lot of the issues we see sometimes are the wife has been taking care of husband for years and is just running herself down. Yeah. And a family gets her in to see us, and we have a conversation with her about, okay, look, at some point your health, needs to become a priority for you, you need to get some help. You need to call someone like Greg. You need to get someone in and get you some respite care, get you some time off, get outside, go visit, socialize with other people. Those conversations are certainly conversations an elder law attorney has with families, in addition to, legal planning, wills, trusts, powers of attorneys, a little bit of business planning, if they own a business as they get older. All of that is the confluence of that when you're meeting with an elder law attorney. We kind of bring it all together to try to help the family move forward with the spouse or parent that has dementia. Also, dementia has a particular legal definition. So there's a legal definition and a medical definition for dementia.
Very good.
You need to be able to kind of understand both, what the differences are, in which realm does the law apply, and which realm does the medical definition apply. They're very similar, but they're not always quite the same, and sometimes, you may need to get a guardianship for that person. And so those are issues you have to look at too.
Oh, see, right there. I just got advice from James Rainey, attorney, Esquire. Do you do Esquire? That's a thing.
That is a thing. We don't put it in there, but yes.
Okay. Oh my goodness, what did you just say at the end guardianship. Correct. It's like to have somebody say, you might need a neutral person who sees both sides, sees the sides, who's trained to agree with a decision or point out that money is being moved here or being used in this way, and it could be construed. Stop me when I'm so wrong. It could be construed as being used maybe inappropriately, not to the best interest of the person who the money belongs to. But if we do it this way, if we make sure that these things are taken care of, then that's good for the whole family, because then they're not sitting under a leaky roof 10 years from now. The roof is good for now 25 years. That sort of thing that the people just aren't trained to look at. Oh my goodness. Okay, we've got some people jumping in. Russ Hedge is well known to my husband and I. Hey, hi, Russ. I'm actually live this time. So wait a minute. Is it Andrea or Andrea? I'm going to give her Andrea until I hear otherwise. Yes, and find a really great platform so everyone knows exactly what is going on throughout the course of the day. Find a really great platform. Andrea, do you know about a really good platform? Oh, and then we've got Aaron, and I think he wants to jump on the screen. I'm sorry, Aaron, these are my invited guests, but I'm really glad that you're jumping in with a comment, because that's another person who's going to be better informed. When I say doctors only take you so far, a doctor cannot give you legal advice, nor can James say, you know what, we're going to have to change that prescription. So James is another vital part of getting closer to death or into a disease that maybe is more prevalent in later years. And then we're talking about dementia. It's like, when am I doing wrong for this person? When am I, how can I do right for them? And how can I keep my sanity? When a person loves a person, and they think, you know what, I have to be there at all times for them, they rely upon me. Maybe a way to approach them is, your husband deserves you at your best, and you've done that your entire married lives, you at your best, and you at your best doing the job of 7 different people. that wouldn't have flown during your 30s or 40s or 20s or 50s, and it's going to be even more crucial now that you're not choosing between your health and that person's health, because you're both going to go down, and give that person maybe their agency again to be able to say, oh, it is okay if I just get a time that fills my soul so that I can come and pour into my loved one, rather than tipping my vessel and finding out there's not even a drop left in me. So just, approaching that person from you get to come back after a couple of hours and have something to pour out and say, hey, I saw someone we haven't seen in a while. Or did you know that the old such and such store has become a jazzercise studio? Or, just something else besides the four walls and the insurance company phone calls where you're on hold for a while, something else. And also, if you're caring for someone that's going into hospice, or that is at a point of hospice, you are really practicing for being your best self when you are going to be by yourself, by doing it right now with your loved one. If the roles were reversed, if you were the one with physical cognitive difficulties, and you were able to say something to that loved one, you would be like, take a break, go and do that thing that you love, go see that event that I wasn't as interested in, but you love it, go see the Formula One races or whatever it is, and then come back and be more vibrant, more diverse, more fascinating for me, because I'm going to take you for a ride with all the things that I'm going to need. If we could just say that to someone, and we can when it's ahead of time. I already told one of our daughters, if I have this condition, I really am telling you right now, do not decide that you and your husband and whatever kids may come in the future are going to do all the care, because that one is what I see as something that, even as a hired person, even as a person whose shift ended, it took so much out of me. And I would be very upset if I had the ability to put those connect those dots. I would be very upset that your marriage relationship and your time with your children were suffering because you thought, oh, I can't put you in a place. That's just mean. I said, nope, in this situation, you've got to do that. I don't have that situation right now, so I'm able to have these conversations ahead of time. Jabber, jabber, jabber. Greg, I wanted to talk to you about people wandering in and the holidays. Do you do something different in your capacity? Because I think that you schedule people, or you do the intake and training. Is there a difference in the whole holiday thing? Do you have a lot of people saying, oh, we won't need any care during this time? Or do you have a lot of people saying, can we get more care because there's so much going on? I want this person to be very settled and have enough attention, when my attention is going to be fractured.
Yeah, when it comes to the holidays, of course, most of our care is scheduled. So a common shift would be, 6 hours a day, 3 times a week, or something like that, to aid a family or individual. Every case is completely different. But when it comes to the holidays, of course, we check with families and see if care is still needed. If they have a bunch of family members in town, many times they will say, hey, we've got it covered. And so we just, restart our schedule after the holidays. So we just check in with them. And I think the holidays is a time where everybody in the family becomes more keenly aware of mom and dad's ability to relate or communicate or not. And so, we get a lot of communication usually after the holidays in January. And I'm sure, James probably experiences the same thing. We can only address a problem that we're aware of. And if you get together for the holidays with your family who you only see once or twice a year, and now you become aware that mom and dad or your brother is not as doing as well as you might thought, you're now aware of some different problems to navigate. So you might reach out to James or someone like myself to say, hey, let's talk about getting mom some help or dad some help. So I think that's kind of how we approach the holidays, trying to be mindful of however we can best support the family. So the family are the primary caregivers. I just say we're supporting family who are supporting their family.
That I'm really glad that you brought that up after the holidays, after people have come in and gone, there's actually food in pans in the cupboard. Like they thought they were putting it on the stove, or they thought they were putting it in a container in the fridge. And I know that things got a little bit funny, but now we have this. Also, when you're talking to someone on the phone and they say, oh, my knees are kind of sore, and then you realize they're actually neglecting their own life. I mean, just changing light bulbs or do one of you have somebody in your office right now?
It's filling as well.
No, it's coming from somewhere else.
And Greg, that's not happening.
No, I can see if let's see here.
It's got a purpose. That's what it's out. There it is. There it is.
I'm afraid we're going to hear a private conversation and names and such that we're not supposed to be hearing. And it does sound like it's coming from off camera. And now it's gone. Okay. I'm glad for that. I'm glad for that. Okay. Phew. You just ask and you receive. Okay. Back to it. After the holidays, you've realized that this person who maybe there's a little bit of mild cognitive impairment, MCI, because life has just been complicated enough, but they're not just taking care of things around the house. And you find out that they're sitting an awful lot and that they've lost muscle tone. And it's been so gradual and everything's been phone conversations. They're still lively. So happy to hear from you. And so it isn't about dementia. It's just about some things that they've not even really realized has just gone whoop, 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 like that. But you haven't seen them for a while. So it's gone from here to there. I did sit. I was waiting. There was a 3-hour delay for a bunch of airlines because of a military plane that needed to land that was having some difficulty. Everything went fine. They were able to land, but they had to put tethers across the tarmac, the runway, because it was a problem with the landing gear and everything. So for 3 hours, pretty much the whole airport was shut down. A person sat 2 seats away from me. I did not interrupt them. I did not try to tell them about Aging Better Network or aspects of aging, but this is what I heard, and I think you guys hear this. Female gets on the phone and says, hello, I was given this phone number. I have just visited with my family. I need to get back to state that the person lives in. They need help. They need help, I think, every day, but I cannot be here. I have to get back to the other part of the U.S. Oh, okay, let me write that down. Hang up. Back on. Hello. I was told to call this number because I've been with my parents and I haven't been with them in a few months, and I just realized that things are not being taken care of. I think mom has this. I think dad has that. I need people. Oh, let me write that down. And my heart was just aching. I didn't know. It was out of state for me as well. And I didn't know what to give this person so that they could not be told again and again, oh, you need to talk to area agency on aging. Oh, you need to talk to, and constantly, you could just tell they were just near tears after what they thought was just going to be this lighthearted, just like it was a few months earlier. And they see evidence of change that makes them a little afraid to leave them, but knowing that they have to. Man, what a measure of trust that both of you gentlemen and everyone who's in your realm, you have to build such a trust bridge, because people are very concerned about their finances, their reputation in the community.
Yeah, can I just jump in and make a recommendation that related to this happened with my family, is unrelated to James Rise necessarily our business. I think a simple thing that any family member can do if they have concern for, or even if they don't. I mean, just if you're not living nearby your family or your parents or a family member, one of the simplest things that you can do for free that costs you nothing is the next time you're there, try to get to meet one of their neighbors, and simply have meet one of their neighbors, somebody who lives nearby, get their phone number, get a chance just to simply say hello to them. No matter what James or I do, somebody who lives in proximity and is able to, when they're out walking their dog, walk by, knock on the door and say hello. We had a family situation recently in Austin, and anyway, it was through a network of neighbors that we actually needed to work to find some help. So anyway, that's just a practical suggestion. I think that anybody can do that. You may not feel like it's time to get caregivers. You may or may not engage the services of a lawyer, but a simple thing anybody can do is meet a neighbor and get a phone number and know that, hey, you know what, John and Susie live next door to mom or to mom and dad, and and now I have their phone number. I could at least text them, have you seen them in a couple days, or something like that. That's just simple.
They're not answering the phone. Can you just see if lights have turned on and off or something?
Yeah. So anyway, just a simple suggestion.
And likely that neighbor is going, oh, good. Now when I have a concern, I know that I can let them know. I saw them go to the mailbox, and then they just stepped out into the street and just seemed to be watching for something. And I thought, my goodness, they've been out there in the heat for so long looking for something. And am I allowed to go out and ask them how they're doing? And is it okay if I tell you? And the person's like, yes, please. Thank you so much. Now I've got eyes and ears with a person who actually does care. This is my neighbor next door. I want good for my neighborhood, at the very least.
Yeah, and this can be long before they have any kind of dementia. My point is just it's helpful anyway. It doesn't matter. They're in perfect health. So you can just ask them, hey, what do y'all ever see any of the neighbors? And they'll tell you whichever neighbors they know. So, best case scenario is they're doing fine, and you just get to know a neighbor that they already know. But it's a resource that you have that is, like I said, is free and can give you some updates along the way.
And I can empower our kids who all live back in Oregon, where Scott and I lived most of our adult lives. Grand majority. I can empower our kids saying, here's 3 phone numbers and names of neighbors. And if you thought, what's going on? I don't understand what they're talking about, or I just, I heard there was flooding, and neither mom or dad have answered their phones. And I'm just feeling like, because my kids do talk about, Mom, are you joking, or do you really think that's real? And I'm going, I'm not funny. I just think that I am. I thought I was joking. I thought you'd laugh. They're like, okay, but it sounded like you were starting to lose it, but it can be something else, like an ambulance takes me somewhere that I need to be, and to be able to call. Recently, there was a situation where that phone service just was being dropped at the hospital. It's a separate family situation, and to be able to call the neighbor and go, can you knock on their front door to see if they're back or not? Because the idea was they would be back the next morning. Just empower them and just let the neighbors know. My kids feel better knowing that somebody knows if we're here, if we're moving about, if life's normal, and they can't get a hold of us. And they saw on the news 2,000 miles away flooding, and they're like, I know they live only 4 blocks from the Brazos River. They don't, they can't have eyes here, but someone else could answer and go, oh yeah, it's really not affecting us. It would have to go up like 100 feet to even start to affect us. Oh, okay. So thank you, because that's something that an aging person can do ahead of time, and just get used to the fact that someone is going to be concerned about us. I'm looking at the time. We've got plenty of time. James, how do you like to, should people contact Sarah first, or your front desk, or does Lisa decide this should go to James? That's really more his area. Or, how do people literally get hold of you because they really like something that you said on today's broadcast?
Well, with our clients, usually they call our main number, schedule an appointment. We have 4 lawyers in our Waco office, 1 lawyer in our Georgetown office, and I also travel and take appointments in the Georgetown office.
There you go.
So we're able to schedule anywhere in those 2 offices, depending on where people live and what's easier for them to get to. Sometimes a lot of people, we're fortunate that a high percentage of our clients are referred over to us by folks like Greg and Christine. So when they call, they just, they usually tell us that. We try to get them on the calendar as quickly as we can. It does take sometimes a couple of weeks to get in, but if someone says, I'm having surgery next week, we want to try to expedite that, or I'm traveling next week or in 2 weeks. We hope you give us a little bit more than a week lead time, but we recognize sometimes you don't, and we try to prioritize those types of matters. Or someone's in the hospital, we'll get calls, and mom or dad's in the hospital and they don't think she's going to make it much longer. Can you come visit and help us? And so, we'll prioritize those types of affairs for sure. But generally, you just call, schedule an appointment, let us know if there's any mitigating factors or extenuating factors like that, and we'll get things taken care of.
Do you want to share that office number just right now verbally?
Sure. Our phone number, our main line is area code 254-752-8644. 8644. Mm-hmm.
I'm pretending like I'm writing it down. I'm repeating what you said.
Very nice.
And people if you go to agingbetterNetwork.com, you can find all my information, and you can look at there'll be a picture, a screenshot, so that you can look back and go, oh yes, Rainy, and you can just move that little spot across the screen, and up again will come. And Scott, if you're listening right now, if you can put rainyandrainy.com back up there. We've got Facebook. Thank you, hubby producer. And then you just shared the phone number so they can listen. It's available immediately at the conclusion, and they can listen for your phone number, which was right around the 48-minute spot. And of course, they can get a hold of you this way. They can look you up and go, oh, look, the phone number's right there. I might be putting you on the spot. Do you have the Georgetown phone number, or is it the same phone number for both?
Yeah, same number reaches both.
Well, good. I didn't put you on the spot to have to know two different ones. They will be calling the Waco 254 and number, and I really appreciate when you say, hey, travel in the hospital. We are expecting the end of life, and you're like, let's expedite, let's get this going. No one wants to have to go back and try to pull all the information together after something
That's right.
occurs, after a big change. Let's get things in place right here. And if a person like myself, I mean, not me, but if you, just like any human being, end up with a diagnosis from a doctor that is going to affect you cognitively, is going to affect you, compromise you emotionally, because it's one of the big ones. You can go yourself and just go visit Rainy and Rainy. You can call, you can get online and say, let's have one of those early conversations when I still am able to do things on my own terms. I'm very befuddled right now. I'm emotionally shaky right now, but at least I can do something. At least I can sign some sort of power attorney, or there's a lot of other names for them. What can I do now to make sure that the right people have the right information, and that it isn't I'm not going to cause more confusion for my loved ones or the people that reach out to me in a caring way. And if you're a solo ager, no kids, no siblings that can take over, finding those people that want the best for you in your life and asking them if they will act in a certain way, just as far as like closing down your social media for you when you get to a certain point. I don't know that there's a legal thing about shutting down social media, but I would want to say, don't tell anybody anything about what's going on with me personally, or I want this to be the paragraph that everyone sees that will be my last communication. Or, you know what? Let's just make like some fanfare party ending and make it very lighthearted instead of, oh, it's terminal or something like that. And let's just do a lighthearted thing. People like that. And then go to the people like Greg and James to take care, that are trustworthy people to take care. Greg, do you ever have a person ever who comes to you and says, I am the one that will need care. I want your people. I think that I'm going to need this in the very near future. So let's just get things set. And I want you to listen to this best friend of mine who has promised me that they'll say, now's the time. We want someone to start 6 hours, 3 times a week. If nothing else, to just see that everything's doing okay. And it can be that neutral voice that says, nope, no big changes while I was here today.
Yeah, it happens all the time. We see family members may live far away, or the person may not have any direct descendants. So I sat in the house of a lady out in Clifton, and her best friend was with her. She went to church with for 35 years, and her best friend was basically advocating for her and said, "Hey, this is my best friend, and she's been declining. She's alone. She is still able to drive, but her husband passed away. She's afraid a lot." And I'm basically, she was, there's not a power of attorney. I'm just acting in her best interest. I'm trying to, as a best friend, advocate for her. So she wanted some help, but I'm going to be here to listen to this so she doesn't feel like, she has a salesperson coming to her home. So, it does happen. And sometimes people call for themselves. I need some help. I'm here by myself. And it happens. It happens all the time. I think, the most meaningful relationships kind of circle around. The sad one case is when there aren't any of those relationships. So,
Yes.
it does happen. People advocate. I think just like James's service, if you don't know it exists, you can't ask for it. And I think that's where, just being aware that those type of services are available is important.
Fantastic. Hey guys, you're going to get back to work in 3 minutes before the end of the hour. Thank you so much for using your talents and your certifications and your both of you made a change, a pivot, but they sure were related to being a pastor and being an attorney in litigation. And you made a change and moved forward with that. My change was going from being a classroom educator to being a person who's one-on-one with someone else. I had to unlearn how not to talk condescendingly. I was so accustomed to 8-year-olds. And I loved it that a military man, regal, a commanding voice, but a bigger heart, and said, "You need to learn to talk differently to us." I'm like, "Thank you. Thank you." I needed to make the change. I had the right kind of heart, but I had the wrong kind of approach. And so I'm forever grateful for that person. I will remember him. And I'm grateful to both of you. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. See y'all later. Bye, Greg.
Bye-bye now. Bye.